Welcome back to the channel, and today I start a new project. Yes, I have decided to get a short-term project in, something to run alongside the 924 work that I'm currently doing as well. And the project that I've managed to grab is something that was a massive hit back in the late 1990s. Certainly in the UK, people were going mad for it, and that is the original Mark 1 Audi TT. It's it's a great little motor. It has loads of character, obviously a very cool design, and I saw one that was really going for not much money at all. It was a couple of grand or so, and it had only done 80,000 miles. It does need a bit of work, a bit of tidying up, which is fine. That's why it's a small project, very much short term, and the idea is really to move it on afterwards. But before I get out and do sort of a walk around of the car, show you sort of the features and all the bits that actually need doing, the first job I do need to get done on it is a notorious failure on these cars, and in particular the engine. And at the top it's the camshaft cover rocker gasket, or the gasket that joins that cover to the top of the engine. It generally degrades in the corners and also around the areas of the spark plug. It comes in two pieces, so one around the edge of the actual cover and then one around the inner part which surrounds the spark plugs themselves. And when it breaks down, oil gets everywhere, down front and back and sides of engine, and ultimately can also get into the spark plug wells as well. Two wells there. But yeah, you can imagine when that happens, a whole bunch of other stuff can ultimately go bad with the engine, performance can be affected and so on. So it's an easy fix, he says, but there's a lot of parts generally to move around and to move things out of the way to get access to it. These engines, when certainly on the more modern cars, everything is squeezed in nice and tightly, so a pain for when you're doing DIY work, but ultimately a great package when they put these things together for performance and all of that good stuff. So anyway, let's get out there, let's have a look at the challenge ahead and get the work done. Okay, so we got the cover off, and you can see now the top of the 1.8 turbo engine that sits in this Mark 1 TT. This is the 180 brake horsepower, but I believe even on the 225 it's all the same setup, other than a few more pieces that you might have to remove to get access to these holding bolts for the rocker cover itself. So on this one you can see lots of oil, and it's been leaking, I would say, for quite a fair time. Front and back I've actually got a drip that's coming down the back onto the floor, so this is a common failure point on these engines. So it's an easy job, nothing too crazy, but well worth doing, because yeah, stops the oil leak, which is a pain. The spark plugs, as you can see, are set into the center, either side of the camshafts themselves. So there's a gasket that goes around these, and then one on the outside is too. So just so you can see, that's the setup of the gasket. And it's also advised to put a little bit of sealer on the edges of these as you put it all back together. So I will take us through that process now and start stripping down the top. Okay, so the spark plug lead coil packs, whatever you want to call them, are out, and you can see that some of them are covered in oil, but this one is yeah, drenched. So that would suggest that rocker cover gasket that fits around the spark plugs, which is that part there, has completely perished. So yeah, it definitely confirms my thoughts about all of this being really quite bad. Now, the other thing is that there is a a slight hesitation with the engine when you're accelerating, and that can be, you know, as simple as a spark plug. That could be an issue. The coil packs on these are also a common failure point, but also the mass air flow sensor which sits in here can also be an issue. So today, not just the cam cover gasket is the main piece, but also the spark plugs are going to get a clean up. All of this is going to get a clean up and degrease, and I'm also going to clean the mass air flow meter as well. So hopefully we can solve the issue with the slight hiccup in acceleration and so on. Anyway, let's get cracking. Okay, so all the screws or nuts are off, and just to pry the cover, you can use a little bit of leverage on this part here, which allows you just to lift it, as you can see, and then just grabbing this bit here allows you to pull up that side. So let's take this off and see how bad this gasket is. Right, so we have the cover off, and that was painful, mainly because there's very fine pipes either side on the right hand side that you get snagged on just as you come to the top over these holding threaded pieces here that ultimately everything slots back onto. When you get to the very top of those, this pipe here firstly was snagging, so you have to undo these two bolts at the front and move this bracket off. And then secondly, you might just be able to see at the back there's one right down there, which meant I had to remove the airbox, and right under here you might just see the hole there. There's a screw that loosens off just partially some of these steel pipes. They've got rubber connections either side, but it's a steel pipe, and then you can just get enough leverage to pull it to the side to ultimately get the cam cover off. And that's what it looks like. So firstly, that needs a very good clean. And we can see that all around that gasket there is a lot of oil that's managed to escape. So we'll start cleaning this up and get it replaced. Okay, so I'm going to give this a clean. As you can see, this stuff is caked on, so yeah, I don't think this has ever been clean. Car's done about 80,000 miles, so it's good practice using a bit of degreaser, a bit of hot water, and yeah, hopefully get this looking like new very shortly. Right, so I'm going to start cleaning up around the spark plug holes. I'm going to remove the spark plugs. I've already moved these two. They were pretty worn, so I'm just going to clean them up, and I'll probably get a new set of plugs anyway, because they're not too expensive, and fit them at another day. But mainly just get this done, get this old one off, clean up around there. I've cleaned these parts now and the top of the cover, so that looks much better, not too bad, and we'll start putting this stuff back together. Okay, so I've pulled spark plug, well, the one on the far right, and that might be 4, it might be 1, but as you can see, it is dripping in oil all down through the actual head of the engine. That says everything about how bad that gasket got. So you can see the spark plug is pretty coated as well, so I'm going to give these a clean up, clean all this oil out as best I can, and yeah, get it all refitted like those ones, which are a lot cleaner. Okay, so there is the spark plug. As you can see, it's all cleaned up, all looks fine, and yeah, should do the job until I get some new ones. So let's get this put back in and start refitting the gasket around the edge there. Okay, so we've got all the surfaces nicely rubbed down and smooth, ready to refit the new gaskets in the center and around the edge. I'm going to lay a little bit of sealer in each corner, then put the gasket on and another bit just on top, because those are generally the places that it tends to fail. So let's get going. Okay, so you will see that I've now put everything back together. All the pipes and air filter fittings have slotted back together nicely. I also gave the MAF sensor a clean, which is through a spray either side, so just making sure I'd given that a chance to work properly if that was an issue in terms of the idling and slight hiccup. I know there's a load of other things it could be, but process of elimination, as they say. So I've done that one, cleaned all of the coil packs, and the spark plugs, as you would have seen, were coated in oil. So yeah, cleaning them hopefully will help as well, but I will get some new spark plugs to fit. So let's give this a start and see if everything is working and no visible leaks are happening as there were before. As you can see, lots of snow the other day, so nothing falling in the engine, which is good. All looks to be okay. No visible leaks, and seems to be ticking over a bit more regular than before. Had a little bit of hunting at idle, but as I say, I will get some new spark plugs just to make sure. But looks like a job well done. Okay, so the first job on the Audi TT is done, and that is the camshaft cover gasket, rocker gasket, whichever one you like to call it. But you could see mine was very badly perished, oil everywhere, so very happy now that that has been fixed, and that should be good for another sort of 50-60,000 miles before it really needs looking at again. The next thing to do really is now to degrease all around the engine, just to make sure any other oil leaks that potentially are present aren't hidden away below, you know, beneath all of that dirt and grime. So I'll get that done. I do know that the car has an oil leak, a very, very slight oil leak at the sump plug. Now, generally, that is down to maybe previously whoever's done the servicing before over tightening that bolt. It's a common thing, certainly on these cars. So I have to check that to see if it has been threaded or been tampered with, which means I might have to resize the hole, which is fine. That's an easy job. There's lots of sort of fixes and kits out there that you can do it with, even making the actual, you know, the sump plug larger in size as well. So there's lots of ways around that. It could simply be that the copper washer that was used has not seated properly, so I will check that. I do need to drain the oil, and I've got some new oil for the car, so that's the next stop. So getting it clean, sorting out that final oil leak, and then hopefully no more oil dripping on the driveway, which is a nightmare. So that will be the next one. My next video, I actually really want to give a walk around of the car itself. You know, it's 18 years old, so you know it has some cool little features and things to look at from, you know, the late 90s. It's a cool design, and yeah, I'd like to really just do a bit of a walk around just so you can see what the car's like. So that will be the next video coming along very soon. Thanks for the support. Thanks for subscribing.